then basically the price is 1,000 over whatever the interest rate here, right?
Hello,
Or
sir.
you can call it, yes, please.
I want to ask the questions about the formula.
Yeah.
Can I? So,
Yeah.
my name is Abi. I want to ask,
Okay.
so how much, so is using that formula to predict bond price or the yield, it is really accurate, or there is an error?
I am not 100% sure your question, but if what you are asking is whether this formula, you're referring to this formula, right? Whether you can use this formula in actual transaction, then the answer is not. Because remember, this is, this is the first day I'm teaching about bonds market. So as a teacher, I have to start by giving you the basic first. But of course, in reality, if after this class is over, you decide to buy bonds, for example, then it's not enough to use this formula. For example, here there is no risk factor. Okay. Now, nowadays especially, how can you neglect the risk factor with all these coronavirus things and so forth? You have to take into account the risk factor. Or, for example, if you're thinking about buying international bonds, of course, first you're looking for the highest yield, right? But in country A, the yield is 20%. In country B, the yield is 5%. You don't jump immediately buying country A, because what happens if country A is in the middle of war, for example? So the risk is very high. So far, I haven't discussed about those factors. I'm just introducing to you the basic concept here. Do I answer your question? Because I'm not 100% clear about your question. Is that your question?
Yes, sir. That's my question.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So this is the, yeah, okay. So this is the basic price. So again, if the value of the bond, 1-year bond, is 1,000, then the price is that 1,000 discounted by this. So this interest rate, that is the yield basically. Okay. So the next question is, what is the expected price of 1-year bond next year at T+1? Then the answer is, this expected price, you see there's a superscript E. So that is the expected price equals whatever the denominations of the bond, in this case 1,000, and then discounted by this interest rate. But notice the interest rate, there is an expected factor also at T+1. Now, don't get confused. If you look at the subscript here, and here, there is number 1 in front of T+1, right? Here the same thing. There is number 1, T+1. What does it mean? This means we are only talking about bonds with maturity of 1 year. Okay? Because if we change this one with, let's say, 10, because in Indonesia, the most common maturity of the bond is 10 years. Well, they also have the 2 years, but most of the bonds being transacted in Indonesia is the 10 years bond. So if I change this into 10, then the value are different here. So this is only the case if the bond maturity is 1 year. That's why we call it 1-year bond here. Okay? So this number 1 here in the subscript refer to that maturity of the bond. Okay. Now, if we know about the expected price of that bond next year, what about the expected price today of the 2 years bond? Remember the reverse now, okay? So that means you want to know what is the present value of that expected price of the bond. Well, the answer is this. So the P to T, T2 means the second year, equals to this guy, okay, which is discounted by the interest rate here. So if you combine this and this, basically you do simple substitution, you put all this into here, then this is what you get. Okay, so now you know the price of 2-year bond, remember now the word two is, the number two is here. So price of 2-year bond, if you want to know what is the present value today of that bond, okay, the answer is this. Whatever the denomination of the bond, and that is 1,000, has to be discounted, but discounted twice, because we are talking about 2-year bond. The first discount is this, the second discount is this. Okay? Or if you assume the interest rate in t plus 1 is the same with the interest rate at t, then basically you can just change into it and then square here. Because basically this times this, right? So that means you square that one here. If you assume that the interest rate of the 2-year bond will be the same, okay, it doesn't change. Let's assume the economy is stable, so there is no chance that the monetary policy will change, for example. Okay, now what is the key message from all this analysis? The key message is that if you look at this formula, then you can either, given the price of the bond, and then you can estimate what is the yield, or the other way around. You are given the yield of the bond, and then you can estimate the price. And if you look at this equation, we know the relation between yield and price is always negative. It's always inverse. So if the yield increase, price decrease. If price increase, yield decrease. Okay? Let me repeat what I responded to the question earlier. So far, we are neglecting many other factors. We simply look at two variables, price and yield. So we don't take into account macro condition, we don't take into account the risks, and there are many, many risks. You can talk about political risk, you can talk about economic risk, you can talk about security risk, or you can even talk about specific financial sector risk, okay? Because, you know, an economy can be relatively healthy, except the financial sector is not healthy, okay? Or the other way around. Maybe the financial sector is healthy, but the overall economy is not healthy. So, you know, there are many other factors in real world. If you really want to apply, you know, the concept into the actual bonds trading here. Okay. So this is just a summary of what I said earlier. So let's pass that. Now, this is an example of the risk factor, which is neglected in that kind of analysis here. And this is based on October 2019, so last year, just a few months ago, I think 4 or 5 months ago here. And these are just an example, okay? And you see there are many countries here. Where is Indonesia? Oh, here is Indonesia. So Indonesia by October 2019 is ranked about this, okay?